Peace be upon you, and welcome to a new episode. Imagine this scene. A balcony in an ordinary house in Esbet Ibrahim El-Sherbini in Dakalia Governorate, Egypt. Old dusty boxes piled up, the kind that come with fridges and washing machines, forgotten and covered in dust. On October 7th, 2024, the head of investigation stands on that very balcony, his eyes scanning for any clue to solve the mystery of a missing child. A universal brand box for a large fridge, just like any box you might find in any household. But inside it lies a secret that will stop your heart, something no one could have imagined, something that will turn the life of an entire family, even the whole Esba, upside down. How does a little girl like Lamis Mohamed Elsayed, just 3 years and 8 months old, go from being the joy of the house to the victim of a horrific crime? And how could someone like Rama, who was like a sister to the whole family, decide to do what she did? This story isn't just about a crime. It's about life, about greed, about debt, about shattered dreams, and about the heart of an innocent child broken in an instant. Get ready, because we're about to dive deep into a long journey filled with details that will make you live every moment of Lamis's life. And before we start our story, don't forget to like and share the episode so it can reach as many people as possible. Now, without further delay, let's dive into the depths of our story. Lamis Mohamed Elsayed was a little girl as beautiful as the moon. She was 3 years and 8 months old. Let's round it up and say 4 years. She was an incredibly beautiful girl with big, innocent, honey-colored eyes and a smile that lit up the whole house. In Esbet Ibrahim El-Sherbini, a modest place in Dakalia Governorate, Lamis was like a little butterfly, running around the house, playing with the kids in the village, laughing out loud in a way that made everyone smile whether they wanted to or not. She loved drawing. Her mother, Wallah, always kept her drawings and would say, "This is my daughter's treasure." One time, Lamis drew a big tree and a little girl next to it, and she told her mother, "That's me and you, Mama. We'll always be together." Wallah cried tears of joy as she hugged her, saying, "You're my treasure that I'll never lose." Lamis loved singing. Her childish voice made everyone laugh and say, "She's going to be a singer one day." Every morning she would wake up and go hug her mom, saying, "Good morning, Mama," and Wallah would kiss her and reply, "Good morning, my heart." She loved playing with her small ball and sitting with her mom in the kitchen while she cooked. Lamis loved riding on her father Muhammad's shoulders when he came back from work. She liked hanging out with the women of the family, especially Rama, the wife of her uncle Samir, because Rama always played with her and told her stories. Lamis loved those stories and always asked Rama to tell her a new one every day. She liked sitting next to Rama while she did things around the house, as if she were imitating her. Lamis was part of every family gathering. When the neighbors came over, she would run between them, playing and laughing. The neighbors loved her and called her the little princess. She always liked to share, whether it was food or toys. People used to say, "This girl is like an angel. May God protect her." Lamis loved animals. There was a small cat in the village that used to come to their house, and Lamis would run after it and try to catch it. She'd tell her mother, "This cat is my friend." Lamis loved everything around her, people, animals, even the flowers she used to plant with her mom in a small garden in front of the house. She used to say, "These flowers are just like me. We have to water them so they grow." Every move she made brought joy to the household. The Elsayed family home was like any simple Egyptian home, but it was full of love and warmth. Mohamed Elsayed, Lamis's father, was a humble and kind man. He worked a manual job, maybe in small trade or a workshop. He'd leave the house at 7 in the morning and wouldn't come back until after dinner. He dreamed of building a good life for his daughter and wife. People in the village respected him. They called him Hajj Muhammad because of his kindness and good manners. He loved Lamis deeply. Whenever he brought her a gift, like a small toy or the gold earring he bought for £1,000, he would light up when he saw her eyes sparkle. That earring, which would later become the cause of the tragedy, was, to Muhammad, a symbol of his love for his daughter. He always told Wallah, "Our daughter is a princess. We must always make her feel special." When he gave her the earring, he said, "This is for you, princess of all girls." And she laughed and ran to hug him. Muhammad was a devoted man who loved his family deeply and was protective of them. He used to tell the neighbors about his dreams for his daughter, saying, "I want to educate Lamis and make her a doctor or an engineer." He dreamed of seeing her grow up, successful and happy. When he came home from work exhausted, the moment he saw Lamis running toward him, all the fatigue would disappear. He loved sitting with her, telling her about his day, and she would ask him questions like, "Papa, why do you work?" He would laugh and say, "I work so I can buy you lots of toys." Muhammad used to look at her while she was sleeping and say to Wallah, "She's our daughter, she's our whole life." Wallah, Lamis's mother, was a perfect homemaker. She treated the house like it was a palace. Everything was clean and organized. She loved teaching Lamis little things, how to hold a pencil, how to say thank you and please, and how to take care of her belongings. She always told her, "This golden earring, Lamis, don't ever take it off for anyone. Your father gave it to you with love." She protected her like any mother would protect a treasure. Every night, she would tell Lamis a bedtime story. Wallah loved sitting with Lamis in the small garden in front of the house. They would plant flowers or water the plants together. The house they lived in was a large home in Esbet Ibrahim el-Sherbini, with separate apartments or rooms for each of Muhammad's brothers. Muhammad and Wallah had their own apartment. Samir Elsayed and his wife Rama had theirs, and their third brother lived in another. The family was very close-knit. There were no fights between the sisters-in-law, no problems between the brothers. Everyone loved one another and shared everything, even meals. Samir, Muhammad's brother, was a very kind man, just like his brother. He also worked all day, leaving in the morning and returning at night to provide for his wife and family. Samir was married to Rahma, a 24-year-old woman loved by everyone. People in the village said about her, "She's sweet as honey, always helpful and smiling." She helped the neighbors, visited the sick, and went to the market to get things for her sisters-in-law if they needed anything. She lived with her younger sister Hanim, a 13-year-old in first year of middle school, who stayed with them in the same apartment. Samir treated Hanim like his own daughter. Samir loved spending evenings with his brother Muhammad, talking about work and life. They dreamed of building a bigger house or starting a small business together. One time, Samir told Muhammad, "We need to give our kids a better life than the one we had." And Muhammad agreed, saying, "Yes, I want Lamis to grow up and become someone important." They loved sharing everything, money, food, even dreams. The sisters-in-law, Wallah and Rama, were also close. They used to sit together in the kitchen, cook, and laugh about the simplest things. Rahma, a 24-year-old woman, was well loved in the village. She was calm, smiled often, and was always helping others. She would go to the market to get things for the neighbors, visit the sick, and help Wallah at home if she needed anything. But deep inside, Rama was living in a nightmare. Her father, Mahmud, had put her in a very difficult position. He was taking out a lot of loans and making his daughter Rama the guarantor. That meant if Mahmud didn't repay them, Rama would be held responsible. And that's exactly what happened. The loans started piling up. Installment after installment, the debts kept growing every day. Rama was drowning in worry and didn't want to tell her husband Samir because she was afraid of how he might react. She tried to handle everything on her own, but the pressure was more than she could bear. Mahmoud always told her, "Do something, don't let me go to jail." And like any daughter who loves her father, she tried to save him any way she could. Mahmoud was known in the village for dealing drugs. He was a charismatic man, but always had money problems. People respected him from a distance, but no one interfered in his business. He borrowed money from many people and always relied on Rama to find a way out. One day, one of the creditors, named Sayed, went to Rama and told her, "Your father owes me 20,000 pounds. You need to pay it this month." Rama tried to calm him down, saying, "I'll find a way, just give me some time." But time was running out and the debts kept growing. She felt trapped, like she was in a prison with no bars. In the days leading up to October 7th, 2024, Rama was under immense stress. She felt like the world was closing in on her. Her father, Mahmoud, kept pressuring her, saying, "This installment has to be paid. If you don't pay it, I'll go to jail." Rama was trying to come up with money, but it was no use. She sold anything she could, old clothes, even household items. Once, she sold some of her gold jewelry, but the money wasn't enough. She felt like she was drowning, and no one was reaching out to save her. Her husband Samir could tell something was wrong. He would ask, "What's wrong, Rama?" But she'd just say, "Nothing. I'm just a little tired." She was too afraid to tell him the truth, afraid he'd be angry or even leave her. On that day, when she saw Lamis playing while wearing the gold earrings her father had bought for 1,000 pounds, about $20, she thought that maybe this was the solution. If she could take the earrings and sell them, she might be able to pay off 1 or 2 installments and give her father a bit of relief. But how could she take the earrings from a child like Lamis without anyone noticing? That's when the dark idea started to take root in her mind. She felt like she had reached a dead end, and that those earrings were her only way out. But that small thought would soon turn into a nightmare that would destroy an entire family's life. Esbet Ibrahim El Sherbini was a simple village, like many others in the Nile Delta. Houses made of brick or cement, narrow streets, and people hustling for a living. The men went out early to work in the fields or do manual labor. The women stayed home, looking after the house and kids. Neighbors had known each other for years and loved gathering to chat and laugh. Children played in the streets, riding bikes or playing football. Lamis was part of this life. She used to play with the neighborhood kids. The village was peaceful, but like any place, it had its small problems. On October 7th, 2024, everything seemed like a normal day at the Elsayed household. Lamis was playing in the living room, chasing her little ball and laughing with Hanim, Rama's younger sister. Mohammed was out at work, and Wala was in the kitchen cooking. Rama was in her apartment, but inside her was a storm. She decided to use her sister Hanim, who was just 13 years old and too young to understand what was really going on. She told her, "Go play with Lamis. Bring her to our room. I have a fun game we can all play together." Hanim, who loved Lamy like a little sister, was excited by the idea and didn't suspect anything. She went to Lamis and said, "Come on, Lamis. We're going to play a fun game in Rama's room." Lamis, like any child, happily ran along. No one noticed what was happening. Wala was busy in the kitchen, and the other relatives were in their apartments. Rima took advantage of this moment and brought Lamis into the room. She tried to take the earring off her ear, but Lamis, who had been taught by her mother that the earrings were important, said, "No, Mom said no one should take the earrings. I'll tell Mom." Rama got scared. She was afraid that Lamis would go and expose her, and that everyone would know she tried to steal the earrings. In a moment of panic and greed, she decided to strangle Lamis. She grabbed her by her small neck and choked her until she breathed her last breath. Then, to hide her crime, she put Lamis's body in a small sack, buried the sack in a small box, and placed the small box inside a large refrigerator box on the balcony. After committing the crime, Rama tried to act normally. She returned to the living room, sat with the relatives as if nothing had happened. But inside, she was terrified. She knew she had done something horrible, but was afraid the truth would come out. When Wallah started asking about Lamis, Rama helped her look, crying and saying, "We will find her, Wallah, we will find her." She tried to appear innocent, but fear was visible in her eyes. It was about 1 p.m. when Lamis disappeared. At first, no one sensed anything was wrong. Wallah thought maybe Lamis was playing at a relative's or a neighbor's house. But when an hour passed, then 2, and Lamis still hadn't appeared, worry started creeping into her heart. She began asking the relatives, "Have you seen Lamis?" Everyone said, "No, we haven't." They started searching the house, room by room, apartment by apartment. They went up to the roof, looked in the shack, searched the light well, and even went down to check the canal and the drainage ditch. They feared she might have fallen into the water tank or something. Rama was searching with them, crying bitterly, telling Wallah, "We will find her, Wallah, we will find her." Wallah, who was dying of worry herself, tried to comfort her, even though she was the one who needed comfort. By 3 p.m., Lamis was still missing. Wallah started crying, saying, "Where did my daughter go?" The relatives and neighbors began to gather, everyone searching. One neighbor said, "Maybe she went out to play in the street." But when they searched the street, there was no sign of her. Another suggested they check the water tank in the village, but still, nothing. By 5 p.m., the fear had grown. Everyone started thinking of the worst possibilities. Maybe someone kidnapped her? Maybe she fell into the canal. Mohammed returned from work around 6 p.m., and when he found out his daughter was missing, he nearly lost his mind. He went searching with them. They searched every corner of the house, even under the beds and inside the closets. One of the brothers, the third brother, said he last saw Lamis with Hanim, Rahma's sister. When they asked Hanim, she said, "She was with me, but then she left. I don't know where she went." They searched her room, lifted the beds. There was nothing. It was 8 p.m., meaning after 7 hours of searching and fear. Mohammed felt he had to report to the police, so he had to go to the police station. The head of investigations arrived with a police force. First, they asked to see the surveillance cameras in front of the house. These cameras were the key to the case. When they reviewed the footage, they discovered that Lamis had not left the house at all from 12 noon until 8 p.m. So if she wasn't outside, she had to be inside the house. But where? They searched Mohammed and Wallah's apartment, Samir and Rama's apartment, and the third brother's apartment. But there was no trace. The head of investigations went up to the roof, searched the sheds, and entered the balconies. On the balcony of Samir and Rama's apartment, he found a large universal fridge box. He told the officers, "Open this box." When they opened it, they found a smaller box inside. When they opened the smaller box, the shock was enormous. Lamis, the little girl everyone in the village was searching for, was inside, bound, strangled, dead. At that moment, Rama, who had been searching and crying with them, saw the police approaching the box, ran up the stairs, and left the house. But the police caught up with her. They arrested her while she was hiding near the village. When they confronted her, she broke down and told the truth. She confessed that she was the one who killed Lamis. She said she was overwhelmed by her father Mahmud's debts. and that Lamis's gold earring was a quick solution for her. She told her sister Hanim to lure Lamis, and Hanim, not understanding her sister's bad intentions, complied. When Rama tried to take the earring off, Lamis resisted and said she would tell their mother. Rama got scared, and in a moment of panic, she strangled her and put her body in the box. After the police arrested Rama, the case went to the public prosecutor. Rama was in a state of collapse but confessed everything. She said she didn't intend to kill Lamis, but fear and greed overwhelmed her. The prosecutor charged her with premeditated murder. Hanim, her younger sister, was questioned as a witness because she was a minor and did not know her sister's intentions. Samir, Rama's husband, was in shock. He said, "How could my wife do this? How can I live with her after what happened?" He decided to divorce her, but was deeply saddened because he loved her and never imagined she could do such a thing. Mohammed and Walaa were completely devastated. Walaa cried all the time, saying, "Where did my daughter go? I dreamed of seeing her get married." Mohammed tried to comfort her, but he himself was broken. He said, "Lamis was everything in our life. How can we live without her?" The whole family was in shock. The third brother, who lived with them in the house, tried to calm people down, but it was clear he was as upset as they were. The people in the village visited the house every day, trying to comfort Mohammed and Walaa, but everyone knew no words could bring back Lamis. The day of Lamis's funeral was a scene that would make even stone cry. People decorated the coffin with balloons, palm fronds, and flowers, and ululated in farewell, as if she were a little bride. The entire village was there, everyone crying and praying for her. The villagers talked about this story for months, saying that greed blinded Rama's heart, and that Lamis, the innocent child, became a victim of debts that were not her fault. The case stayed in the courts for a long time. Rama faced heavy charges, and the villagers followed the news closely. Some said she must be held accountable for what she did, while others said she was a victim of her circumstances. But everyone agreed that what happened was a tragedy that should never have happened. Mohammed and Walaa decided to leave the village after some time because they couldn't live in the place where they last saw their daughter. They moved to another village, but the grief stayed with them. In early 2025, Rama was sentenced to death by hanging. This story reminds us that life can be very harsh. Rama, who was like a sister to the family, let her father's debts control her, and it led her to kill an innocent child. Lamis, who was like an angel, became a victim of a moment of weakness. This story should make us think, how can we protect our children? And how can we prevent greed from destroying our lives? We need to think about the value of life and how we can support each other instead of letting circumstances control us. This story also reminds us that financial pressure can drive people to terrible things. Rama wasn't evil from the start, but debts and fear overwhelmed her. If she had asked for help, if she had talked to her husband or someone in the family, maybe the story would have been different. We must learn to help each other and not let anyone feel alone. The whole village loved Rama, but no one knew she was suffering like that. If they had known, maybe they would have helped her, and maybe Lamis would still be alive. In the end, Lamis's story is a reminder to all of us. A reminder that life is precious, and that children like Lamis are the most precious thing in the world. We must protect them, keep them safe, and let them live in peace. And with that, today's episode is over. If this is your first time watching the channel, don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell so you get all the latest updates. Stay tuned for a new episode. Goodbye.